The teaser trailer for Amazon's Fallout TV show has just dropped, and a quick 2-word review after watching it, I'm hyped. So let's jump in, break it down, and discuss what we can look forward to. By the way, hello folks, my name is Scott. I'm not the best at editing, but I like to talk about things, so let's have a chat, shall we? So I just want to start off by saying I am a huge Fallout fan. I have been ever since I was 18 years old and I bought Fallout 3. It was the first mature game that I'd ever played and I became instantly obsessed with it. I ended up putting over 2,000 hours into the game within a year, and I was so obsessed with it that I even took a flight by myself to Washington DC on the other side of the world. I'd never traveled alone before, but I just had to go to where the game was set so that I could experience it for myself. And I knew my way around. I could navigate the metro. I knew where everything, all the landmarks were, and that was because of how great the game was. And ever since then, everything that's come out, Fallout New Vegas, I mean, look at my wall art. That is the New Vegas Collector's Edition playing card set, and I thought, why keep them boxed up? They need to be on display for everybody to see. And then Fallout 4, 76, even Fallout Shelter. I have been absolutely loving and obsessed with the franchise as a whole. And so there's been a lot of excitement and trepidation on what a live action version of Fallout could be. And when I heard about it years ago, that a script was being developed and then a TV show was being developed and then the posters and now the teaser trailer, I have to say it has got to this point, and watching this trailer itself has made me completely change everything that I thought about it, and I'm so excited for it. Let's actually look at what we're seeing right now. So taking it from the top of the video, at the beginning of the trailer, as in the beginning of the games, we see Ella Parnell's character Lucy leaving Vault 33. Now, Vault 33 is a brand new vault within the Fallout universe. It hasn't been covered in any of the games, and it's shown that it is in fact an active functioning vault, which is very rare within the Fallout games because yes, there are lots of vaults to explore within all the different games, but many of them have fallen into disrepair. Many of them have been abandoned, irradiated, or infested with horrible monsters, and so the number of actual lived-in vaults are very few and far between. Some of the ones that are most memorable are Vault 101 from Fallout 3 and Vault 81 from Fallout 4. Now, the first one, you were able to leave, but it wasn't an agreed on thing. There was a whole battle, a whole skirmish, people died, and eventually you kind of get kicked out. In Vault 81, it's a little bit more lax. It's a bit more open door, people coming in and out and trade. Of course, they're a little bit more reserved, but still there's connections between the outside world and the inside world. But when it comes to Vault 33, there are some clues within those first few seconds which show us that it seems like Lucy is leaving not because she can, but because she must. Because if we take a look at the controls by the vault door, we can see that somebody is lying on the floor. There's somebody lying there, maybe they are knocked out, maybe they are, but it doesn't matter. Something has happened and someone's been overpowered, and those vault doors have been opened probably without permission. And also, if we actually take a look at Lucy, we can see on her lip, it's bleeding. She's got a cut on her lip, which shows that she's been part of some altercation. Now, later on in the trailer, we actually get to see a scene within the atrium. We can see some farming, we can see all the different levels. The vault looks gorgeous. I'm going to talk about the aesthetics in a little bit, but there is some sort of ruckus. There are people fighting. We can see some weapons. We can see some anger. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of fury. Did this happen before the doors were opened? Is Lucy leaving because of this altercation? Or is this a continuation afterwards and people are still living there but they're going crazy? Who knows? It's going to be really interesting to see how the vaults and how, especially Vault 33, the life continued from pre-war to now, is told within the Fallout TV series, because how can you condense all of that history into just maybe one episode, into maybe even half an episode? It's going to be really fascinating to do, and especially to build up the tension to the point that it's like, yeah, she had no choice but to leave. We don't actually know what the main story is going to be for this. You know, in the Fallout game, someone was looking for a water chip, someone was looking for their father to help purify the Potomac, somebody was looking for their son who's been kidnapped. Here, we're still not sure. We do know it's going to focus on different characters, and especially get a good look at what Vault life is like, and I'm very happy about that because the Vault life is a really interesting part of the games, and to see an active community falling apart like this is going to be fascinating. Now, just about the aesthetics of it as well, I love the look of the vault, and I love the look of the vault suits, because making the vault suits were always going to be a difficult thing because they are so iconic. From the games, you have the vault suits and the power armor. I'll come to power armor in a little bit, but they're the same as superhero costumes from the comics. It's going to be always so difficult to transfer them into the real life and make them practical. Because in Fallout 4, especially the latest game that we have from it, the vault suits, they look great, but they're not practical. These skin-tight, all-in-one pieces, imagine running around, imagine walking around in them. They look good, but practically, no. I love what they've done with this. You can see that it's a lot more paneled, it's a lot more segmented, there's a lot more freedom. You can see it's a little bit baggy around the legs. It looks livable. It looks livable and it looks great. And I love the use, and this can sound so ridiculous, I love the use of the yellow, especially on the vault suit, especially on the backpack, and on the railings within the vault entrance, because the vault color palette, those blues and yellows, are such an artificial way to bring life and light to this underground kind of dystopian world. You know, the blue is so calm and serene, it reminds you of the sky, and the yellow is the sunlight and it's bright, but yet you're underground, you don't even see sunlight. So many of them have to have vitamin D tablets just to survive. And so the overuse of this popping yellow, it really shows that there's something off, because it's a nice color, but it's also a little bit jarring when you look at it, especially in the context of the scene, because everything else is so dark within. It's just a little note, and it sounds ridiculous, but I'm just really glad that they lent into the use of the yellow, because it just shows how removed the vault dwellers are and how removed vault tech are from the actual real world, the real world of which is now this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Anyway, I've talked about the beginning for so long. We're moving on. We're now out into the world. There's some Bethesda storytelling right there. There's a skull. Oh no, environmental storytelling, someone's died. Oh, shock horror. But as we're going through, you can see that there are remains of the old world. We can see the pier here, we can see the fairground, there's the Ferris wheel, we see the hills and everything, all of the destruction. And then we come across a shot from inside a house, and there is a rad roach. And as it is in the games, in this trailer, one of the first irradiated creatures you come across is the rad roach. And I have to say, it looks great. Of course, you could just make just a cockroach bigger. That's what a rad roach is. But it looks menacing. It looks horrible, but it also looks part of the world. It doesn't look like it stands out. The graphics are great on it. I love the CGI on it. It doesn't look out of place. It looks like it belongs there, and that's what's going to be great. Seeing the creatures throughout this trailer is brilliant. Now comes to something which I really love, is when she's crossing over the street and she gets scared by a tumbleweed, because of course you would. Why wouldn't you be scared of seeing this thing moving? I've seen one tumbleweed in my entire life, and it was in Australia. I wouldn't even know what a tumbleweed was if it wasn't for cartoons and Wild Western movies. If you go out there for the first time in this brand new world and you have no idea what it is, and then this ball just rolls by you, of course you're going to be shocked. And that's just such a lovely little detail that I can't wait for. And then, of course, Todd Howard, acclaimed video game creator, pops up. There you go, Todd. You get your shout out. We carry on through and we can see that either the shoreline has rescinded, which I'm not sure it has entirely, because we can see that the pier at the beginning is still out into the water. But perhaps there was some sort of tsunami. That's what I'm thinking. Perhaps a tsunami that has brought a boat into shore and deposited it there, because there's the remain of a ship within the sands. And then we get to meet some eccentric characters. Then we start to get some dialogue. Forget about the humans for a sec. We get our first look at dog meat. Because how could you have Fallout without dog meat? There is dog meat chowing down on a rad roach. And this is where my entire perception of what the TV show is, something that's been built up for 15 years, imagining what it would be like to watch a TV show or movie based on the Fallout series. And since then, hearing about a script, since then, hearing that it's being developed, all of that, this is the exact moment that my entire perception changed. Because we see Ella Purnell going, okay, and then pops up this title that says, and the studio behind The Boys, fantastic show, and 2-day fast delivery. When I saw that, I went, huh? I can understand drawing comparisons to The Boys, but why are you talking about Amazon Prime's delivery? That's when I went, yeah, they're gonna lean into the humor of this. And that is the best thing that they could have done, because Fallout is full. Don't get me wrong, it is full. It is based on and built on so many gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, harrowing scenes, so many stories of loss, so many stories of grief, so many stories of humanity pushed to the edges of deprivation and having to just act so inhumanely because that's the only way that they can survive, that when you're playing it, you're observant, you go, whoa, this is horrid. But Fallout also has so many ridiculous characters, so many ridiculous scenes, so many fantastically funny and absurd notions to experience, because when society breaks down, there are no more safeguards on what people do on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes people want to act out, but they think better of it because of judgment, because of community looks, because of all that stuff, society boxing them in. But when there's no more society, when the rules of interaction are broken down, when community is no longer a thing and you're just out there by yourself, that's when you see the real nature of people. That's when you see people how they want to be. And that's why we come across so many ridiculous characters and so many ridiculous situations in the Fallout games that bring a lot of humor, because Fallout isn't this gritty, dark, depressing game. You know, like The Last of Us, that's a dark, depressing game. Dead Space, that's a dark, depressing game. Fallout isn't. Part of the joy of it is that there is this levity, this brightness, and this light within the dust, within the wasteland, within the destruction. It's the little lights and sparks of humanity that make you go, okay, yeah, this is worth exploring. This is worth chatting to everyone for. And it was this title of seeing in the studio behind The Boys and Fast Delivery that made me go, we're in good hands here. This is going to be a good show. Because then what follows after this is a whole montage of different things, world building and lore, but there's a lot of humor. I'm going to skip over the Brotherhood of Steel stuff. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. But when we jump in and we see Dogmeat eating a disembodied hand, come on. I love that. That is absolutely brilliant. It shows it's not afraid to shy away from these ridiculous situations that have now become the norm. It's going to show these things, which is really great. We see a jukebox splattered with blood. Now, I thought for a moment that this jukebox was an outdoor thing, was something that was happening outside, but it's actually inside the vault. It's part of the atrium because there are synthetic clouds within the sky, which is crazy because if they've been underground for 134 years, as the TV show is set, then those people alive won't even know what clouds are. But there are synthetic clouds, simulated clouds within the sky, projected onto the walls. This jukebox takes place inside it. We can see there's some silos in the background, some fake hills, but it is surrounded by the crops that they are growing within the atrium. The blood splatter, that is obviously part of this altercation that we then see happening straight after as everybody's going crazy within the vault. We've got everybody running around the picnic area and such. Now, just to jump ahead ever so slightly, we do get one more look at the same vault, and that is when this lady here is using a rifle, and she's got a fork in her eye. So something's gone down. They've managed to get their hands on weapons. I can't wait to see what's happened within the vault. We do also get a look at another vault, and this one took me by surprise. This is Chris Parnell as a Cyclops. Now that brings up so many questions because Chris Parnell's character isn't the overseer of Vault 33. That's Carl McLaughlin, who we do see later on as well with a sad look here. Maybe something's happened. Obviously, a door's closed between them. There's going to be some breakdown. I've kind of got a feeling of what it could be, that it may be following the story of a martyr from Fallout 3, Vault 101. That kind of vibe. Maybe Ella Parnell's character is the daughter of Carl McLaughlin's overseer, perhaps something, I don't know. That would just be an interesting thing. There'd be more of an emotional connection. I doubt he's going to be around that. I don't know. I don't want to make predictions. It's out in 4 months, so I don't want to make too many predictions. But seeing Chris Parnell's Cyclops character adds so many questions because that's a mutation, and that mutation would have been brought about by radiation. Because what it means is that the doors have been opened for a significant amount of time, and radiation has come in to such an effect that there's been mutations within the gene pool causing this mutation of just having one eye. So maybe it's like Vault 12, Necropolis, where everybody turned into ghouls, but here it's a Cyclops overseer. And obviously it's not too strange because he's just playing it off as usual. But that does give me some hope that, Ella Purnell's character has traveled across, found another vault, gone in. She's been having a chat, having an interview with this guy. And I just love all of the Vault-Tec stuff. The Vault-Tec mugs, the Vault-Tec pencil holder, everything. Even the rounded Overseer window. The detail is brilliant. It's obviously shown that people who love the games and have played the games have worked on this, because the level of detail I'm absolutely loving. But it's interesting to know that we're going to see at least 2 different vaults within the show. Hopefully more, maybe an abandoned one, because it is nice to see all of the lived-in vaults, but maybe a horribly derelict one would be really good if they eventually got there and had to get something from it. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. But that's kind of all we see for the vaults at the moment, but there's plenty more that goes on. We get a look at the vertibirds in action. Now, the Brotherhood of Steel are going to play a big part within this TV series, and I'm very much excited for that. And what I love is the look of the power armor. And what I appreciate about the trailer is that they didn't put the Brotherhood, the power armor, they didn't put it on a pedestal. They haven't made the Brotherhood like the savior, the Jesus Christ figure of the Fallout TV series, because what could have happened was they could have shown everything, and then at the end, a light shines and there's a power armor. No. The power armor is taking basically front and stage. After all the Vault stuff, before, now they're here, they're in action. It looks gorgeous. That suit of armor looks fantastic. It looks clean, yet used and dirty. The grime, the oil, it just looks right. It doesn't look out of place, because oftentimes when you see some sort of mech, when you see some sort of big rig, it can be like, oh, okay, that looks a bit unrealistic. But this is a mix of practical effects and CGI, and it just looks brilliant. And what I love is you then have the Reservoir Dogs type of walk. They have the janky walk. There's a line of them, and there's the janky puppet walk, because yes, how can you expect to walk normally in such a getup? You can't. And so they look a little bit clumsy. They look a little bit clunky, and it works. And what I particularly love is how they get humbled, because later on we see a Yao Guai going to town on it, ripping off the breastplate of a power armor wearing soldier, which is brilliant. It shows that they are not the ultimate force. It shows that they are not something that can't be reckoned with. It shows that the world, the wildlife, the wasteland, this earth that they are now living on is dangerous, is the main character. It's the post-apocalyptic wasteland, which is going to be the central theme and the central person to focus on within this TV series. But I'm going to come back to the creatures again in a little bit, because as we're walking through, we've seen the vertibirds, we've seen Dogmeat, we've seen the vault and the horrors that are going on there, but then we come across this town. And as somebody who is a fan of Fallout 3, and in particular Megaton, I am so in love with how this looks, because they have got the design of hodgepodging, of cobble together, of scrap and salvage, of build what you can with what you've got. They've got it down perfectly. And with settlements such as Megaton, with Diamond City, it's how little uniformity there is that makes it so unique. It makes it so wonderful to want to explore and to see all these different details. And this is exactly here. When you see other more well-established places like Covenant in Fallout 4, like Rivet City in Fallout 3, everything's a little bit clean. Everything's a little bit too put in place. But here, everything looks odd, everything looks out of place, and that's what makes it look wonderful. You've got the nose of an airplane just hanging out there. You've got a trailer hanging out on top that someone may live in. Also, all of the stop signs and everything. And because it's 1950s aesthetic that was brought into the modern day, that retro-futuristic look, having the neon, like here when it says drugs, the drug sign, it just adds this extra element to it. And also the maid signs right here in the background for pharmacy. It's all been put together. People have just put together what they can in order to make this community. And then there's the barber. That's a barber right there. You can see we've got something for dandruff. We've got all the brushes. We've got all the things. That is the barber shop. Kind of looks open plan, like in Fallout 4 Diamond City, which I really like. But as we're going into this town, we are introduced and we see in action Walter Goggins, the Ghoul. Now, a lot of people, when they first saw the posters of the Ghoul, were not happy with it. They wanted him to be more decayed, more horrific. I understand why. Because though Fallout 1 and 2 were wildly successful, a lot of people jumped into the franchise with Fallout 3. And in Fallout 3, the ghouls are horrific. They are pizza-faced, lesion-riddled, horrible bags of gore. And in Fallout 4, they kind of toned it down a little bit. And with the toning down, they made it more realistic. And when I see the Ghoul here, it gives me Hancock vibes. The skin, the nose, it gives me Hancock vibes in a really good way, because you have to think, what would someone look like who managed to survive an actual nuclear blast and all that radiation? This makes sense. They don't have to be parts falling off them. They need to have contained some sort of semblance of realism and humanity. And if they would have made the Ghoul look worse, look more diseased, look more horrible, you wouldn't have been able to identify with them as a character. You wouldn't be invested in their journey. If they were disgusting to look at, why would you want to watch them for 3 or 4 episodes? Why would you want to spend your time building a connection with something that you can't even look at? So making them look, the missing nose cartilage, the lips are funny, the ears are odd, and the eye sockets are, drawn in, but still looking human and still looking approachable. Now we can build a connection with them. And also, it's Walter Goggins. I have not seen that man take a wrong step. He is a phenomenal actor, and he's going to do this really well. And still talking about the Ghoul, there he is with the big iron on his hip. He's a good shot. He blasts, bam, gets all the barbershop brushes covered in blood. That's going to take a lot of the germicide to clean, but he is on sort of rampage. Now we see Ella Parnell's character come into the town and everything seems to be okay. It's difficult to know whether it's been destroyed already, but it doesn't seem to be, because if you slow it down a little bit, you can see people are still walking about as if it's fine. So she stumbled across this, but then something's happened. We'll find out what, where the Ghoul is now shooting everybody up. Everybody's turned against the Ghoul, or maybe the Ghoul's just trying to defend himself. But keeping on talking about the Ghoul, what I'm really happy to see is that we'll get to explore his pre-war story, because I have a feeling that his character just being called the Ghoul as of now means that we're probably not going to see many more of them within the show, if any at all, unlike in the games where non-feral ghouls are all over. They're a whole different faction, whole different group of people with personalities and lives and everything. So interesting to find out what their pre-war lives were like. But here it seems we're going to focus just on one. We're going to make the connection with just one, and we can see that, yeah, he's there in LA. He's on the back of a horse. He looks like a cowboy. So it's not that he's adopted the Ranger life after the bombs have dropped. He was like this before, and it just shows that those personalities that you make as you were younger, they carry on into later life, even if it's 134 years later. And what we get to see is him on horseback with this young girl, who I'm going to presume is his daughter for the moment. What happens to her? That's going to be the question. What happens to her? I've got a feeling it's not going to be good. I've got a feeling it's not going to be a happy ending for her. And maybe that's part of his drive to be maybe a justice protector, maybe someone who just hunts people down. We don't know what his story is going to be, but I have a feeling that the potential loss of this young girl is going to be instrumental in the way that he acts. Before I get to the final shot of the trailer to focus on Walter Goggins, let's just have a look at some other things here. We have this house in the middle of nowhere, and this guy waddling out wearing horrible underwear, kind of looks like a diaper, let's be honest. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It gives me Andale vibes. It makes me think that this person is going to be not very good for Ella Parnell's character in the bottom left here. She's come to visit. Maybe he's coming out. I have a feeling there's going to be some sort of potential cannibalism, maybe? Question mark. Who knows? There's something not going to be good about this person. I doubt they're going to be a positive force in our Vault Dweller's life. I did see the cars dotted about, and I had to think, oh, maybe there's a chance that... No, upon closer look, you can see that the cars are all derelict. Maybe they had the chance to repair them and drive about, but I doubt that's going to be a thing, because in the games, it's not a thing. You have the vertical takeoff and landing and all of that type of stuff, but no. But talking about vehicles, we do have this floating airship a la the Pridwin right there going in the sky. It looks incredible with all of the vertibirds around it. This amazing air fortress, the Brotherhood of Steel coming out to check it out. It's going to be really interesting to see what role the Brotherhood of Steel play within this story, because they're a very ambiguous force to get behind, the Brotherhood of Steel, because sometimes they have good intentions, what appear to be good intentions, but other times not. And I think the game that really highlighted that well was Fallout New Vegas. Because in Fallout 3, they are the de facto protagonists. Even if you play an evil karma cycle, at the end, it doesn't matter, you end up teaming up with the Brotherhood. That's the canonical ending. There's no way to escape that. They save your life, you carry on in broken steel with them, all of this type of stuff. But in New Vegas, they are a sad little community huddled away in a hidden bunker, basically turfed out by the NCR and the Caesar's Legion, and they're just hanging on, following this imperative of we need to collect data, we need to collect technology, we need to salvage the pre-war world and make sure we carry it on for the future generations, which is really problematic. And some of the schisms that pop up in Fallout 3 and in New Vegas showing that a lot of people in the organization were going, hang on, we're already powerful. We have power armor, we have all these amazing weapons, we have tactical advantages, we are a good force. Why don't we use it to save people? Why don't we use it to help people out? And then the chain of command goes, no, we're just here to get salvage. We're just here to get tech. And there's that one quest where some of them get expelled because they help out some settlers instead of just getting the technology and getting out of there. And that's why there's such a question mark over the Force. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how they're portrayed within the TV show, because it obviously shows that they are at the moment very advanced. They have their airship, they have their vertibirds, they have their power armor, everything's to be working. They're not untouchable. You can see them getting attacked, you can see them in battle, you can see them failing. But it's going to be interesting to know what their prime objectives, what their imperatives are, and how they're going to affect the world that we come to explore, and how they interact with the Ghoul and with the Vault Dweller, because it's going to be interesting to see these three stories come together. They're going to cross paths, and it's going to be interesting to see how. But then we have some other little bits dotted here and there which are just beautiful. The turrets. I would never think in all my time playing Fallout and my time looking forward to seeing a TV show, movie, whatever, live action make of that universe, that I would be so impressed with the detail of the turrets. They look like they had pulled straight from the files of the game and just rendered up. They look incredible. Like, seriously, it's one of the best design, one of the best set pieces in the whole trailer. They look fantastic. Then we see what appears to be Dogmeat running by, being pulled by this owner. It gives me questions on who this person is, because they appear to be a doctor, what with the white suit, and so you have to wonder, why is that happening? What is going on here? Also, there's snow on the ground. Maybe it's the climate's changed because of all of the nuclear fallout, or maybe it's not in Los Angeles, maybe it's somewhere else. But regardless, we'll move on. You can see a Mr. Handy. Love that. A Mr. Handy pushing through what appears to be somebody in a vault suit. I want to say it's our main lady on the gurney because she appears female. I can't quite tell, but I think it is her. But this isn't within the vault. This is somewhere else. It's very run down. It's very dingy. And also the Dairy Fresh ice cream in the background, that wouldn't be within the vault. So there's some sort of remaining structure from the pre-war days that Mr. Handy is pushing through. And so how did our Vault Dweller end up there? We can see that the Brotherhood are in some more battles, some more skirmishes. There is the Yaoguai. The Yaoguai looks incredible because these bears in the Fallout world were always horrid. They looked disease-ridden. They looked just falling apart and horrible. And they've managed to capture that beautifully with the Ghoul looking palatable to the eyes, with the rad roaches looking really good. It's nice to see that they've still retained some of that gruesomeness, because yes, you want to be able to connect and watch things, but you also want to feel, oh, this is a nice place to be. And seeing this boil-ridden, pus-filled, falling apart bear ripping apart a Brotherhood of Steel member. Oh my gosh. And then this creature pops up, and it looks like some sort of salamander. It looks like some sort of axolotl. And the creatures that make me think about are maybe the geckos, but I'm not entirely sure about that because the geckos were more land-based. This seems to be more aquatic in nature, with the fins, with the gills around the back of its head. That's what makes me think of maybe an axolotl or salamander. And now in the game, salamanders did indeed mutate into what we know as gulpers, and that's what makes me think this is the gulpers were just within Far Harbor, so in the main area on the northeast coast. We're obviously on the west coast here, so it may be different, but still, animals can mutate in all different ways. This makes me think it's some sort of aquatic salamander that has been mutated, because all of the tendrils in its mouth, horrible, but it's the gills. It's the gills that make me think that it's some sort of axolotl, it's some sort of giant salamander, it's something, a gulper. That's me hedging my bet. If they were to put a name to it, I would say that this is the gulper with a few more frills and gills added onto it. In between the Yaoguai and gulper attack, we see this person running along carrying a briefcase. Now, when you're making a trailer for a TV show, you obviously have to put in stuff that's going to be important, some things that are going to catch the eye. And obviously this barren scene breaks up between the action of the Yaoguai attack and the gulper attack. It's important enough for it to register in our mind, for us to see it and go, because what is this person doing? Running through this barren wasteland carrying a briefcase. I want to say it's our vault dweller just because there's long dark hair. Maybe she's got changed, maybe she's got into something else. I doubt she'd wear that vault suit throughout the entire show. So it makes me think this is coming from a later episode. That's pure speculation, but I feel that the thing in the briefcase is very important and she has to get it somewhere, and this is a later episode. I'm going to put my bet on there and saying this is from a later episode. We'll come back to it in April and see. And then the final shot of the trailer is a look at the world on October 23rd, 2077, when the bombs drop. And we can see it's not just one, it's not just a couple. They are being bombarded. There is at least three, then a fourth, then a bam. And this one here, this absolutely cataclysmic one, you can see how close Walter Goggins' character is to that blast zone. You can see how he has been irradiated TF because he's on horseback. He's got nowhere to hide. And this massive one goes up in the metropolis. And one little detail that I love, just at the bottom of the screen as we're going over, you can see the classic "Prepare for the Future" billboard, which has been replicated on the Fallout 3 Collector's Edition lunchbox. Now, I love this lunchbox. And you can see the slogan there, "Prepare for the Future." This here, that is basically what that billboard is. You have Vault Boy in the corner. You have all the happy families going into the vault and the slogan, "Prepare for the Future." And I'm really glad about that because Vault Boy himself is a send-up of the mascots that exist in the world, the corporate mascots. It's meant to be a send-up of it. It has now become a mascot within itself, a consumerist capitalist mascot, because they're really churning it out to get the money of everything to do with Vault Boy. But it was meant to be a parody. And so seeing even just that little glimpse of Vault Boy right there in the pre-war advertising and propaganda, that was to get everybody within the vaults, because don't forget, the vaults weren't for humanity. The vaults weren't to keep people safe. The vaults were to experiment on people. The vaults were to see what could be done with humanity when put into a confined situation. They're not good things, but to sell it with the propaganda of, hey, everyone's happy and smiling, Vault Boy, he's giving you a thumbs up to see how big that mushroom cloud is, and prepare for the future by going underground. And that's the billboard you see right there. It's just that extra little bit of detail I'm really happy for, and I'd be excited to see more of that retro-futuristic 50s art style within the show. And just talking about that retro-futuristic aesthetic for a little bit, yes, it's as if the 1950s carried on up for 100 years more into 2077, and then when the bombs dropped, everything gets, stopped in place. So everything that existed before the war, not necessarily everything afterwards, when everybody's, surviving and making do what they got, but everything that they have to salvage has that sort of 1950s look to it. So the clothes, the buildings, the cars, the technology, all has that sort of 1950s look. And in the games, that has an extra layer to it with the radio that you can listen to, the soundtrack, which is made up of some absolute classics from the era. You've got Ella Fitzgerald, you've got the Ink Spots, you've got Sinatra, all these people. And so the song that they chose for the trailer obviously had to be of that ilk. It would have been a little bit too on the nose if they used "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire," because they use that in the game. Instead, the song playing in the background of the trailer is "I Don't Want to See Tomorrow" by Nat King Cole. Now, Nat King Cole's music has appeared in the Fallout games before. There was "Love Me As Though There Were No Tomorrow" in Fallout New Vegas. There was "Orange Colored Sky" in Fallout 4. And now there's this song in the Fallout TV series trailer. Interesting is this song comes from his album "I Don't Want to Be Hurt Anymore" from 1964, which is a little bit on the late end of the music that appears in the Fallout games, because a lot of the soundtrack is from the 40s, from the 50s, but we did breach over into the 60s. We had The Wanderer that appeared in Fallout 4, that's from 1961. And so it's not going to be the biggest thing if it wasn't explicitly from the 50s, because it's the vibe. It doesn't sound like a 60s song. It definitely sounds like a 40s, 50s crooner type of song. And so it fits the vibe perfectly. And it'll be interesting to know what other licensed songs they have and what other classic voices we're going to hear. If we have some ink spots popping up in there, if we have some Ella Fitzgerald, if we have Sinatra, that would be incredible. But to know Nat King Cole is the voice of the trailer, beautiful, because God, what a voice he has. And then we end with it showing that it's coming out on the 12th of April. And it's a shame that it's not coming out on October 23rd. I really think they missed a trick with that one, because that's the day the bombs fell within the game. It would have been nice if that's when the TV show dropped, but well, it doesn't matter. Maybe there was something to do with scheduling, having been too close to Christmas or something. But still, I'm excited for it to come out. It's only 4 months away. Bring it on. So there we go, folks. That was the first teaser trailer for the Fallout TV show to come out on the 12th of April on Amazon Prime. I cannot wait. I have rambled and meandered my way through this. Thank you so much for watching if you managed to get to this point. I hope it made sense. I hope I was coherent. I can't wait to actually watch this back in the edit and be like, what on earth was I talking about? But please let me know down below, what are your thoughts? Are you excited? Are you hyped for it? Do you have any questions, any queries? Do you have anything that you're worried about? Do you have anything that you think? Any predictions? Let me know, because I love to discuss these things. Put it down below. If there are any more trailers that are coming out, you know I'm going to be on the video. You know when it comes out in April, there's going to be a lot of content about that. So make sure you subscribe to stick around to hear me talk more about Fallout, and also stick around for more videos as well. I'm making videos about video games. Make sure to leave a like and comment. I'm just wrapping up the video, thinking about the trailer. I cannot wait for this show to come out. I cannot wait to jump back into the games again. It's going to be brilliant. My friends, have fun exploring the wastelands. Luck and watch you all. Catch you next time.